If you know that your idea is good, you have talked to a large number of people, you know that idea is good, then never give up on it and never give up on yourself.
A lot of you had questions around career and what career options are right to pick after IIT, whether to go for programming or core electrical career, how to pick between industry and academia. And Ashish would like to take a stab at this. Ashish, the floor is yours.
Yep, thanks Arjit. So if you can go to the next slide. I actually took this question and expanded on this, not just between these two kind of choices, but let's begin with what are the career options that we think that we have in front of us. So if you think about it, and maybe I'm outdated here because again older than you guys, so there might be more career options popping up these days, but as far as I know of the spectrum, so if you can go next, Arjit, if you look at what are the career options available to us, you could be an electrical engineer, an electronics engineer, you're right. You could be a software engineer. You could go for IAS preparations, MBA, MS, PhD. You could think of building your own startup, right? Something that Kunal was just addressing before, and the list goes on. So, right, this just shows, right, how diverse the set of the kind of career options that we have as IITians, just because we are talented enough to be able to pursue those. But I think the crux of the question is more around how do we decide what career option to go with, what line of work do we choose to pursue. So if you look at this kind of a representative flow chart, right, think of a career choice that you would like to pursue, right? Ask a set of questions around it, and these set of questions could be your own list, right? I'm just putting some things here based on my thinking. First things first, is this really what you want, right? Is it worth your time? Is it going to pay you enough? If you get answers, the yes answers to all of these, fine, go ahead. But if you feel that something is off with this career choice, start thinking about another one, another more likely career choice. So basically it's really more about introspection, thinking inside. I know in my batch during electrical engineering 2009 to 2013, I could see people having some basic instinct about what they want to pursue. Some people were interested in electrical engineering as a career option, they went for it. I was personally more towards software engineering. So if you can go next, Arjit, there is this one line I want to share with you, which goes something like, do what you love once your bills are paid. So what I mean by that, and let me give you my personal story here. At IIT Roorkee, I was in electrical engineering batch, right? But before IIT, I used to practice programming even before. It just so happened that my AIR was in that range that I landed up in electrical engineering. I started studying and pursuing electrical very well. I was actually a 9-pointer, by the way, for those of you who didn't know. But then eventually when the placement season came around, I landed in a purely software engineering job at Oracle. So what really happened there was my inner instinct was still telling me to pursue something which involves logical thinking, which involves coding, programming. So that's why I think I ended up there. But also there is the bills being paid, right? Which is another way of saying getting some good salary. So placement, at least at our times, had mostly software or computer science companies coming in the initial days because they were paying better. So that was kind of the trade-off, right, which I made in my time. So that's why I chose Oracle and I went there. It's another thing that I then took a few more decisions. I went for an MS from there on, and I then took more turns in my career. I chose machine learning as my line of profession from there on. But this is just to give you an idea of how I thought through about career option. So how the world is today. In general, be ready to pivot and restart. Again, my example, I worked as a software engineer for Oracle, but I saw machine learning is picking up as an industry trend. I just changed gears. I went for an MS, leaving my job, and from there on I pursued machine learning. This might happen to you as well. You might take a career option. Be ready to switch gears, switch tracks. Kunal also changed like his first job and pursued an MS in robotics, for example. So yeah, be ready to do that. That's a quality which will really help you. Again, gut feeling is really underrated. Introspect. I know it's difficult at this point of time. You have way too many things going on in your campus life and so on, but still keep an eye on what your gut instinct tells you, what you really want to pursue in life. And lastly, and this is again very sincerely, I was when I was in college at your stage, I was completely undecided on what I want to do in life. So it's really okay, in my opinion. Start with something like I started with my job at Oracle, and then keep iterating. So it's not a one-time decision. You can always evolve with your decision.
Thank you so much, Ashish, for sharing your life journey with everyone here. All right, moving on to a slightly different theme, but still on career. Some of you were wondering whether career strategy is something which is planned all along, or is it more a chance or random places where you land up?
Thank you, Arjit. So yeah, again, a very good question and a very relevant question. Some people also asked how to deal with peer pressure in this regard, and should we make decisions based on what everyone else is doing, and what's really the right choice. So I mean, my direct answer is there is no right choice, like no absolute right choice. Everyone has their own, as Ashish also pointed out in his part. But for me, I did not have a career strategy all along, but it started taking shape gradually as I gained more experience. And it was not by chance. As you will realize your longer term goals, interests, and priorities in life, you will start making more sensible decisions, right? So some pointers on how I approach this whole topic. So first advice would be for everyone to actually learn to differentiate between what your goals are and what are the ways to get there, right? So career for me is highly related to my end goals, but the career strategy is just a tool for me, not the goal itself, right? So I think this is, for me, it was very important to differentiate. It's a bit like this waterboarding graphic that you see. So as long as your goal is like this rope that you are holding, right, it will keep you moving in one general direction, right? And what you do, like on the waterboard, is basically your more regular life. So goals are basically where you want to go, and ways are how to get there. So goals are normally longer term, they're more comprehensive, they include more than just you. Many people think about family, community, nation, entire world when deciding their goals, and how to get there is a short term, opportunistic, and highly dependent on your talents and skills, right? So goals often also cannot be figured out in a day. It takes years to figure them out, and how to get there can change fast based on your situation and your end goal, because life is not always that certain. So for example, someone's end goal is that I want to dedicate my life to fight climate change, and the ways to get there can be many. So you can become an engineer, you can become a politician, you can become an economist. All of them will in their own way try to get you closer to your end goal, right? So my advice at this stage is spend a lot of time in figuring out what your goals are: long term, medium term, short term. I think also this is something which Ashish briefly touched upon. And then think of a strategy to achieve them, right? So don't just do things at random. Try to figure out your end goals, but at the same time, it will take you some time to figure out your end goals, right? So while you're figuring out your end goals, while you are not sure what you really want to do in life, learn what you can along the way. Once you figure out what you want to do, then you can become more specific and more efficient in what you are doing. But until you actually figure out what your goals are, you should just learn whatever you can learn, right? And in my opinion, having your mind fixed on an end goal actually makes your life a bit more meaningful and less stressful, right? So let me give you a quick example. Suppose your goal is to build a house, right? You won't give up on building a house and start crying if you lose a hammer. You will just buy another hammer and get on with the task, right? So this is how this is to tell you that you should be flexible in your career strategy as well. This something along the lines of the pivot that Ashish was talking about, and then how to select a proper goal, right? So there is always what interests you and what is viable, what is possible, what will really make an impact. So it's a balancing act between these two. And in the end, I would just leave you with this thought that don't get too much attached with the tools, right? Don't get obsessed with the tools. Focus on the goal. That's it. I think it's back to you, Arjit.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Some great life lessons there, for sure. All right, moving on to the next big theme that we identified. This was around higher education. A lot of you wanted to kind of understand, is higher education a must-have? How to choose between MS and MBA and other choices out there? So let me take a stab at this question and try to answer this based on my own experiences. Straight out of IIT, I joined consulting with Deloitte, worked there for 3 years, and then started to wonder, I started to wonder before that, whether to go for an MS or MBA. And I eventually decided to do an MBA and not MS. So with that perspective and with that lens, let me try to first answer the question whether a master's degree is a must-have. So if I look at my own experiences after getting an MBA and others' experiences after getting MS and other master's degrees, I have zero doubt that master's degree is a great value addition. You get great exposure. As some of you mentioned, you're wanting to get from IIT, think even bigger in a master's degree. You'll get higher income for sure after you have a master's degree. You will gain a broader perspective over things that you never really thought about earlier. You will have a larger network, as some of you mentioned in the word cloud, that a lot of you wanted to come to IIT because you wanted to get to know these smart minds, these smart people. And masters will sort of add on to that network even more. You will gain a lot of meaningful experiences, not just from a professional point, but from a personal growth standpoint. Those experiences will add a lot to your personality with a master's degree. With all of these pros, there is one con that I want to point out that may happen for some of us as we can want to pursue masters, is the fact that it may result in a large debt that may create financial instability later. And this is especially true if you're wanting to go outside India and pursue higher education abroad, which was the case with me. I came to the US and did an MBA. With that in mind, I think pros still outweigh this one con, but be very careful of the dollar amount that you are paying for any master's program and the specific program and institution you choose. I think the key really is to research as much as possible. Research. Ensure that you've spoken to enough people, you've read enough online to really make that choice, which program, which institution is best for you, and go based on that. Now, coming on to the MS versus MBA question, it's a little bit harder to answer in a broader setting here. But essentially, again, going back to Kunal's earlier point, it eventually depends on your life goals and what you want to do. I have learned from my own experiences that talking to people gives you more. So do take the time to actually talk to those alums from those particular programs that you're targeting.